It is Anna's birthday. The scent of jasmines wafted through the air as Anna stretched and yawned. She opened her eyes with a smile on her face. Jasmines were her favorite flowers, and there was a bowl of these freshly picked flowers and water placed on her bedside table. What a delightful fragrance! The gentle morning sun streamed light into her room through partially drawn curtains, and the birds on the trees outside chirped away merrily. The day had got off to a promising start. Her mother stepped into the room with a bright smile and came and sat on her bed. She gave her a tight hug and she kissed her forehead. She greeted her with a very warm and loving "Happy birthday." Oh yes, she had now officially stepped into the terrible teens. She was so excited at the thought of all the surprises that awaited her. She flung her arms around her mother's neck and hugged her tightly. She got ready in excitement and quickly grabbed some breakfast before heading off to school. The house was full of fresh flowers. Rose, jasmines, marigolds, and even little daisies from the garden. How fragrant, bright, and colorful they were. Oh, the day promised to be exciting. Her father gave her a warm hug and wished her a happy long life. Her little brother came up to her and kissed her clumsily on her cheek, which was followed by a tight bear hug and a shrill "Happy birthday." She grabbed the packet of chocolates lying on the table that she intended to share with her classmates in school and smiled happily at Giri as he helped her into the car, wishing her as well. Did the guard give her an even bigger smile today? She did think so and smiled happily back. She maneuvered her wheelchair rapidly towards her classroom in anticipation and was greeted with a yell and warm birthday wishes by Lena to start with, and the rest of the class followed. The children were excited as birthdays were times to celebrate. In walked Sister Agnes and the class fell silent as expected. There was an underlying excitement in the class and Anna was finding it hard to concentrate on what was being discussed. She waited impatiently for the bell to ring at the end of the class when she could distribute the goodies she had brought along. It seemed to take forever, but at last the class came to an end. Lena helped Anna only too willingly to offer Sister Agnes some chocolate and seek permission to distribute some amongst the class. Sister Agnes came up to Anna and gave her a rather unexpected warm hug as she wished her well and blessed her. The class chorused their birthday wishes once again as Lena went about distributing the chocolates. What fun it was! Soon enough, it was time to hit the cafeteria and a surprise awaited Anna and the children. As Anna and her classmates trooped into the cafeteria for their snack, their eyes fell on this large chocolate cake laid out in the center. It had a chocolate base on which was a giant squirrel eating a large sugar nut. Anna loved these frisky creatures and so her father had ordered this cake specially for her. She was filled with joy and delight at the sounds of wonderment that arose around her. Her father appeared, camera in hand and beaming his most charming smile at her. He had been granted special permission to treat all the children of the class, but there was no extra time, so they quickly got down to business. Anna cut the cake as they all sang to her, although her heart ached at having to slice through the oh so realistic looking squirrel. All the kids found themselves a seat as there was no standing in queue today and they all got served at the table. There was chocolate cake, sandwiches and a donut, each along with some fruit juice. The kids loved it and did not want it to end, but all good things must necessarily do so, and they still had classes to attend. The rest of the day passed off in a breeze with happy and chirpy children in class 6B. Soon it was time to head back home. Lena walked with Anna till her car, gave her a hug and wished her a great day ahead as they parted. Anna was lost in a world of dreams on the drive back. She recollected the laughter and joy in the faces of all her friends at the sight of the cake shaped like a squirrel and started smiling herself. What a brilliant idea that was! Her father was truly the best. Anna wheeled her way into the house and gasped at the sight that greeted her. The hall was decorated with balloons and streamers in all hues, and her beaming mother, dressed in a gay orange and yellow dress, rushed to meet her. The aroma of freshly baked cake filled the house, and she smiled as her mother flitted about, urging her to go and freshen up. She was soon to find out why. She had barely managed to brush her hair after a quick wash and change into a very charming sea green dress with little pink floral motifs that had been thoughtfully laid out on her pink bedspread when she heard the doorbell. She loved the color of her dress, which complemented her skin. One last look in the mirror, and the princess was ready to join the rest of the family. She entered the hallway and could hear people talking in the living room. The voices sounded excited, and she hurried along. Surprise! There were people in the living room that she had not seen in a long time. Matthew, her friend from before her accident, Beena, who used to sit with her on the bus, and Gloria was here too, as well as Linda, John, Rita, and George. Gloria was from the Little Angel School for children with special needs. She was also in a wheelchair as she had cerebral palsy, a condition where she had to deal with frequent involuntary movements of various muscles. Her mother had accompanied her. Anna was in a daze. How had her parents managed to contact all her old friends? She had lost touch with most of these children ever since she had had her accident, and some others since she joined her new school. Now her day was truly special. First, she had a treat in school with all her new friends, and then all her old friends came home to wish her in the evening. What more could a girl ask for? They cut the cake and played several indoor games like pinning the donkey's tail and passing the parcel. But Matthew grew restless and very innocently suggested that they go play in the park across the road. Anna froze. She had not ventured into the park since her accident. She realized that she would have to go along if she were to play the gracious host, but could not bring herself around to venturing out and crossing the road. Her mother understood her reluctance and decided to step in. She asked Mr. Lawrence to accompany the boys to the park for a game of ball while she organized something more sedate for the girls. She put an arm around Anna's shoulders and asked her if she would rather stay at home and paint. Anna thought about it and decided to face her fears. She would have to deal with it at some point, so why not today? She smiled at her mother and said she would love to paint, but in the park. She did not want her party to split up in two groups. Off to the park the entire group went. Once there, most of the girls decided that they would rather play, and so Anna and Gloria were left by themselves to explore the wonderful world of colors. The two of them were happy coloring with their color pencils. Gloria was in her elements as she created frenzied strokes on her drawing sheet, while Anna studied the details on a nearby rose to replicate it as best as she could on paper. It was only too soon that the sun went down and the streetlights came on. Adults started dropping by to pick up the children, and so rather reluctantly, the children made their way back to the house. Their faces lit up when they saw the little pile of return gifts on the table. Gloria was very reluctant to part with her art tools. She clutched her precious painting close to her heart and yelled when an attempt was made to retrieve the color pencils. Anna so wanted her to be happy, so she let her keep the pencils, and the result was a big, crooked smile on Gloria's face, which was truly endearing. There was a flurry of goodbyes and thank yous amidst the excited chattering. A sudden quiet came upon the living room as the last child left. An exhausted Mrs. Lawrence looked about her at the roughed up room and sighed at the thought of tidying up, but then her glance fell upon the tired but happy face of Anna and she smiled. It was all so worth it. Anna had had a rollicking time, and that was so evident. Well, the cleaning up could wait till tomorrow. Now it was time to get a little supper ready, get Anna into bed, and then retire for the day. She heeled into the kitchen to make some soup, and Anna followed her to help. Mrs. Lawrence was touched with this gesture. She asked Anna to go to her room and said she would be there in a jiffy if Anna needed help to change into her nightdress. Anna obediently left, and Mrs. Lawrence sent a little prayer up to the Lord, thanking him for blessing her with such a lovely and affectionate child. Supper was unusually quiet. The excitement of the day had left everyone tired but content nevertheless. The happy faces of all the children were such a gratifying memory for the Lawrences. Mrs. Lawrence had watched Gloria with some concern in the beginning as she split her drink and spread her foot about, but this soon changed to wonder as she noticed the harmony of the bright colors that the child had used. Gloria must be encouraged to paint, she thought. Frisky, the cat, finished her meal and sat under the table, mewing to catch some attention, and Mrs. Lawrence stopped her wandering and returned to the present. The sight of her happy and complete family, even with minor imperfections, pleased her no end. With supper done, everyone retired to their rooms while Mrs. Lawrence hurriedly cleared the dishes and tidied the kitchen, having refused help from both Anna and her husband. She knew they were exhausted as well. She quickly glanced around the kitchen as a habit to check that all was in order before turning out the lights and heading towards the children's room to peek in. First stop was little Rob's room. He looked like an angel fast asleep and clutching onto his teddy. She tiptoed in and planted a kiss on his forehead while assuring his covers were on right and moved to Anna's room. There was a sliver of light seen under Anna's door. Mrs. Lawrence peeped in and found Anna in bed with a book in hand. Her bedside reading lamp threw light on her pages and her face glowed with peace and contentment. The book was a gift she received from Matthew, and Anna could not wait to get started on it. Mrs. Lawrence stepped in. "Aren't you tired, sweetheart? What about getting yourself some precious shut-eye?" she asked. Anna smiled at her and said she would in just a bit. "Thank you, Mum, for such a wonderful surprise party." Mrs. Lawrence ruffled her hair affectionately. She would do anything to make her little angel happy. She kissed her daughter good night and wished her pleasant dreams as she quietly shut the door behind her. When she reached her room, Mr. Lawrence was already snoring, and it was not long before she too was lost in a world of dreams.